Yeah, you wouldn't want that. So, like, another aspect of what you do, until a few days ago, I didn't know this. I'd only watched your main Mr. Metokur channel and watched all that content. I just in the last couple of days discovered the Bloodsports thing, and it is like I was trying to like jump into a stream and figure out what it was about, but there are so many characters. There's so much backstory. There's so many people in the call. It's like, God, I need to like set aside a weekend to try and figure out what the fuck is going on.
Can you
I know,
And
it's
one of the big, and it is very entertaining. I like the like very combative shit. You're hilarious on it. But a guy I don't know, I still don't fully understand. I know he's a political figure, like alt-right kind. I think alt-right. Baked Alaska. He's the big thing as of late. Could you give me like a download on what is going on with him? Because it seems like the whole Bloodsport arena is just, you know, knee deep in him right now.
Lay this whole thing out for people that aren't familiar with Bloodsport.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Bloodsports is just the dumb gay little nickname that it's been given, but it's a stream where people come on with a heated confrontation. That's really what it boils down to. You can think of something like almost like a Jerry Springer, a Maury Povich, a Richard Bay kind of type atmosphere. They've had some interesting matchups. Tariq Nasheed went up against Jared Taylor, so you've got somebody who's more kind of like a black supremacist than a white supremacist going at each other. And Tariq was funny. I mean, he actually said, and this is almost a verbatim quote, "My dick is a weapon of mass destruction, which I will use to destroy the white race." And so I got a great chuckle out of that. Tariq, he's a very funny guy when he gets going on his spiel. But you know, it started off really political. A lot of political matchups. You know, a lot of people in the alt-right or on the left, kind of going at it. And it spun off into multiple directions. But with Baked Alaska, who was this guy that used to work at BuzzFeed, got into the Trump presidential cycle, based magapede and all that. That's how he'll describe himself. He and I had a bit of an argument. One thing I don't like, and this is me personally, maybe this is just me, but I don't like somebody that builds up an audience, rapport with a group of people, right, who financially support you, and they're showing up to watch your content, they're showing up to support your streams. Maybe they're buying your merchandise. And then you turn around and tell them, you're not worth it anymore. I don't like you. You're toxic, or there's some aspect, I don't need you anymore. I'm better than you. And that's kind of essentially what he did. And I really didn't like that. And so I was like, you know, you seem to me to be a sellout. You seem to be somebody who takes for granted people who supported you. You kind of turned your back on them. This sets into motion a sequence of events that just goes completely off kilter. I mean, at the very beginning, it's me calling him a sellout. Today, we're talking about people going to the Pentagon. So
the real Pentagon?
Yeah, the real Pentagon. Swear to God, I will try to lay out the sequence of events on how this happened. So I tell that to Baked Alaska. He gets very angry. He ends up going on to a stream, a Bloodsport stream called The Morning Kumite, which is hosted by a guy called Tagasa. On there's a streamer, Andy Worski, has his own show. Turns out Andy Worski and Baked Alaska get into an argument. Baked Alaska had him out in California. You know, they're all hanging out and doing stuff. In the middle of the argument, right, Baked Alaska looks at Worski, you know, through the camera and everything, and says, "Well, you're a cokehead, Andy. When you came down to California, you wanted me to get you cocaine." And then Andy responds, "Do you want me to tell people where you got it? Do you want me to name the really big streamer who's supplying?" And Baked turns to him and says, "Hey, I have records on my phone of you wanting cocaine. I have records of all of this." So that starts a whole bigger shit show, because now you're talking about, you know, Baked Alaska's in California right now, and I'm not making any allegations. I can only tell you the people he's hanging out with. But he's in California right now trying to do the in real life streaming stuff. And he's hanging out with people like Ice Poseidon. He's hanging out with people like Asian Andy, you know, and doing all of this stuff. So I have no idea who Andy and Baked are referring to, but I have a feeling a lot of people down in California right now aren't too pleased with either of them, because they couldn't keep their business private. So Baked Alaska gets very angry. Andy gets very angry. Baked leaves the stream. Then things start to circulate about there's a secret Discord server being run right now. People are going to get doxxed. People are going to get flagged. And people are saying Baked Alaska's behind it. Well, one of the people presenting the evidence is a guy named Zoom. Zoom says, "I have the evidence. I have emails. I can prove it." He says Baked Alaska was trying to contact a hacker. He was trying to contact a hacker. He was looking for Weave. We intercepted him. I had it sent to me instead. All this funny stuff.
Intercepted him.
Intercepted
him. What does that mean?
They hijack his SIM card?
It's all cloak and dagger. It's all cloak and dagger. Apparently, the word was out. He was looking for somebody, and somehow Zoom got in contact with him and said, "Hey, I can do this for you." You know, I am skipping over one part. Let me back up just a tiny bit. After I called Bake to sell out, he had like a 12-hour stream where people were going insane at his house. There seemed to be some festivities going on that might have involved some recreational drugs, let's say.
What could cause someone to freak out and overreact in that kind of situation?
They don't like the
What kind of substance?
Were they throwing dollies and such?
I'll tell you. One of the guys on the stream, right, is mocking chat. Oh, hey guys, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you say. You can't do shit to us. He accidentally tells people what his name is, and it works. In that same stream, he said something to the effect of, "I think if teachers have sex with students, they should get a pay raise." Turns out this guy works for a very conservative individual in the political sphere and the kind of radio sphere. And he said this multiple times. Well, chat was like, "We love a challenge," and you just told us what your name is, and we figured out who you work for. So they start just screwing with this guy relentlessly. So I want you to imagine this. I mean, you get called a sellout by somebody, right? And start talking about people doing drugs. And then some guy shows up on your stream and he's spazzing out and people find out who he is. He's making really weird statements about screwing teachers, screwing students. People find out who he is and they're contacting bosses and things are escalating as time is going on. Now we've got a hacker appears from out of nowhere. And he's going to turn over the evidence to Andy Worski. Andy Baked wants to come after you. I have all the evidence for it. Well, then, to follow this up, because this shitstorm, this rolling trash fire has to continue. People are like, well, this Zoom, the hacker's making this all up. He's completely making it all up. And not just that, but he's a pedophile. So there was a stream just, I think it was last night or the night before, where they played like 20 minutes of audio with the Zoom guy and a girl that he knew on some site called Blab. Where they're talking about some really outrageous shit, talking about watching child porn together. She says something along the lines of, "You'll never make me come as hard as he did when I was 12. Just lots of really... Yeah.
Oh, that's some dirty shit.
That's some... that reminds me of that... What was that... was it Fight Club? Where he...
yes.
You know the
I
line...
haven't been fucked like that since grade school. Helena Bonham Carter said that in bed. She's British, though, so to her... She doesn't know what grade school is. She had no idea that meant elementary school.
But to sum it up, so people are like, "Oh, well, this guy's a pedophile." Well, his claim was, "No, I'm just trolling. This is how we used to screw with people. We'd go onto streaming sites, make outrageous claims like this, get a large audience watching, and then watch them get angry." So this starts like an inquisition on this stream. They have like 3 hours going. Finally, the girl comes on. Like they're like, "Oh, the girl's going to prove that this is true or not." And she comes on and she's like, "Yeah, we're just fucking around with you." So even I'm lost at this point. I mean, Bloodsports, I think it really is just Jerry Springer for the internet. I don't know how one event leads into a sequence of events like this, but it just gets more absurd as time goes on. More people get drawn into it as time goes on. More outrageous allegations come out as time goes on because people get so heated and so personally involved in it. I mean, what started as me saying, "You are a sellout, Bake, because you're treating your fan base bad," has now ended at, super hackers. And the Zoom guy said on the stream, this is how the Pentagon is getting involved, apparently, that he had like, he was contracted through the government. He had GS13 pay ranking or something like that. And he was, top secret ranking or something like that. One of the guys watching, well, two of the guys, actually, one guy called in. He's from an Australian police department. It's like, I've heard some interesting things here. Maybe we're going to pursue this. I can't say that we have any jurisdiction over you, but I can contact people. And then another guy calls in and says, "I just want you to know this, but I'm in the Navy or whatever. This is my rank, and I'm what's called, I think it was a designated or mandated reporter. And you're claiming that you're contracted through the government. Well, I have a meeting at the Pentagon in a week that's been scheduled for a month. And as a mandated reporter, I have to bring this up because maybe you really are working for the government. And if you're involved in pedophilia, that needs to be dealt with because people are making claims that you're doing some really outrageous shit." Is that I'm going to talk to some general in particular, Mattis? Mad Dog, you know what I'm talking about?
Wait, the Secretary of Defense?
Yes.
He might be
Mad
full
Dog,
of
we
shit.
got a pedophile on the Kumite show.
Oh God, no! They're there too. I love the Kumite show. Wait till I tell Donald about this.
Oh, I fucking love Kumite. I watch it every morning right after Fox and Friends.
But yeah, I mean, it could be completely blowing smoke out the ass. But I mean,
Fake
it's
Alaska is a cokehead pedophile.
but it's absurd. But yeah, it really is. It reminds me of that kind of generation of television where it was just a ridiculous story that's kind of ongoing. And I don't think it's people intentionally trying to do it. I just think it's once people get really invested in the argument, all the secret comes out. You know, these people have had me on their streams before, and they say they give me a lot of crap because they say I don't have internet friends. Well, why don't you have internet friends? And I'm like, well, look around. I mean, Baked Alaska is talking about coke use, and they're supposed to be internet friends. You know, people are tearing themselves apart. Why would you open yourself up?
I did love that section of a stream. I watched. It must not have been the whole stream because it wasn't that long, but it was like your friends discussion with all those guys that I'm not familiar with all their names, but they were like, oh, we're all kind of friends here, and you're like, no, none of you are my friends. And like one or two of them pipe up, yeah, but like me, Jim, like we've known each other. No, none of you are my friends. I don't want to be friends with them. And it was just the blatantness of it, and then the subsequent like almost passive, almost underhanded way to be like, but we're still cool, but we're all right, right? Like the need for validation. That was very funny to watch.
Well, and to give you to cap this off, and I want to make sure I'm saying the right person's name. So if you can give me one moment here, let me just pull up my Twitter account to give you an idea of how ridiculous this is getting at this point. As a follow-up to all these streams, during the stream with the alleged pedophile hacker, right? Mm-hmm. One of the hosts of the Bloodsport is like, I want to set up an in real life money match with you. I want to get into a fight with you. I want to kick your ass. So they agreed to set this up. Now here's where it gets even more ridiculous. Apparently, I don't know. Do you know somebody? Maybe you're familiar if you watch MMA. Tara LaRosa.
Sure, I've rolled with her.
What do you would know?
Yeah, it wants to get in on this.
I used to.
So
train
Tara
with her.
LaRosa is like, if you're setting up, this is the tweet. Did someone say setting up fights? I like in real life, and I want to play. So I don't know if that means we've got a fucking female MMA fighters showing up for a YouTube fights now, if that's going to be a thing. But you know,
that'd be great.
Woody, Tara LaRosa roughed you up a bit, right?
She won. Yeah, I was just starting. I was like a brand new white belt. I had like 70 pounds on her, and she was just so much better. In the transition, she'd always trick me. She's like, I don't know if she won Abu Dhabi, which is like the premier grappling competition on the planet, but she definitely medaled like several times, bronze, silvers, maybe gold.
Did you have any like impressive moves against her, or was it just she was doing whatever she wanted?
I was really new, and almost to say I was trying to be polite would exaggerate like what I could have done, but I didn't know how to roll with a girl, and nothing went my way. Like
you twist the nipples.
Yeah. What happens is, like, I don't know, I'd be in her guard, and I'd be so much stronger than her that she couldn't pull anything off. And then, whatever, like, we'd both fall to our side, and all of a sudden she had, like, an armbar in a way that I didn't see coming. And that's what it was like to roll with someone much better, but weaker.
Does not sound like fun. Well, maybe she'll show up to the Bloodsport
Well, yeah,
thing.
to YouTube fights. I don't know. I mean, that's the third one now that's been set up. There was an event called Kilroy that fell apart because the person running it was basically a scam artist. They did a sequence of videos on that. And all the YouTube personalities that were going to show up ended up fighting with one another. And all these people were talking about setting up fights. So you had one guy called Coach Red Pill wanted to fight Jeff Holiday, and then another guy, Monday Matt, wanted to fight Johnny Fox. And so I think there, as Ross would put it, some bloodlust there. So maybe YouTube fights will become a thing, like a next generation bum fights, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah. Oh, we talk about bum fights every other week.
It's a 10-point
Big fans. Big fans.
Guy gets his face bit off.
So that's felony
for
fights.
Like a
Don't
fucking
mix it up.
30-pack. He gets it for a natty pack.
That's felony fights.
Yeah, that's felon fights. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
you're
a
right,
whole
that's
different
felon
thing. Much classier than bum fights. Don't get it twisted. Don't besmirch
It
the
probably
name.
is.
Of
It's the
felon
pinkies up.
fight. We start with clubs.
Woody, you're no stranger to internet fights. Way before or not to being challenged to them. It was like 2011
Before
the
it
first
was
time you
cool.
got challenged.
Something like that, yeah, I guess. There was a guy, and people here know the story. I think he was on the spectrum. He claimed to be on the spectrum, actually. He said he had Asperger's, and he used to routinely talk about raping my wife, raping my daughter, anally raping my daughter, and then he would make fun of my son. I have a special needs son, and he would just I don't know, take pictures of his poop in the toilet and say, here, I got some snaps of Colin. and tweet that stuff out. And I mostly looked the other way. I was a much bigger YouTuber than he was, and didn't make sense to punch down constantly. But at one point, he said he was going to beat me up at this gaming convention. And I said, I accept. I'll set it up. And, I got it all arranged. I got my friend is a UFC fighter, so we got an octagon lined up, and we were going to go. And then he said he didn't want to fight anymore. So that's all there was.
Funny that, isn't it? How it reaches that point, and suddenly they don't want to do it anymore. Suddenly it's a little too real for them.
Oh, this got a little bit real. I might get punched.
He made a mistake. He said he wanted to kick my ass, and it was like, oh, invitation accepted. I'm totally down. That was the thing that got me to reply, and he looked kind of silly. He was smaller than me too.
Yeah, I've long suspected it's hard to get inside the head of one of these insane people from the internet that really doesn't make any sense, even when they're not like being silly. They're always kind of just on the edge, or they're not like the rest of us. I always had the suspicion that he was just sort of trolling because he wanted your attention. He wanted, even if your fans were going to tell him, oh my God, you're terrible. How dare you say that about Colin? How dare you say that about Woody? Woody's a great guy. It's still views for him, right? Like any attention's good attention as far as someone like that is concerned, perhaps.
Yeah.
But in any case, I always, even at the time, I was like talking to Woody in private, and I was like, what are you gonna do? You gonna hurt him? And was like, I'm gonna break his fucking arm.
Yeah, that was the plan. At the time, I was in pretty good shape, and I had trained a lot, and I was pretty sure that this fight would go any way that I wanted it to go.
Yeah,
and
it would have.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no doubt.
So I had decided that an appropriate level of violence would be to break his arm at the elbow.
Break his arm at the elbow so that it wouldn't heal right, I believe.
That's what would have happened.